USA Today has recently written an article entitled The 500th Birthday of the Great Reformer John Calvin. In an article entitled Who Was John Calvin?, Derek Thomas notes, Calvin's journey from Basel to Geneva is among the great tales of church history. His destination was Strasbourg, but a local war between the King of France and Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, prevented him from taking the most direct route, necessitating a detour for a night to Geneva. Entering the city, he was immediately recognized and taken to meet Willem Farel, who had led the Protestant cause in the city for the previous 10 years. Farel, red-haired and with a temperament to match, threatened Calvin that if he dared leave the city and refused to join him in the work of the Reformation, God would curse him. For John Calvin, this was a moment of truth. Hi, this is Pastor Kevin Bowling, host of the Knowing the Truth radio program. Fortunately for Christians around the world, Calvin was terrified and convicted, and he heeded Farel's pleas, and apart from a brief exile from 1538 till 1541, he remained in Geneva until his death almost 30 years later. I recently spoke with Dr. Derek Thomas and asked him why it is so important that we study the legacy of John Calvin.
Ask me about honoring the man.
Yes.
Let me take it face on and say, yes, it's all too possible to exalt the man over God. I think we can do that about any individual, and Calvin included, and we need to be careful not to do that. But the spirit of Calvin 500, or the spirit of blogging the Institutes on Reformation 21, is to do precisely what Hebrews 11 does in honoring the various men of faith and women of faith in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
That God has given to us examples of godliness and examples of leadership, and God in His providence has given to us teachers, some who are alive today and from whom we profit immensely, and we listen to their sermons either in the flesh or on the internet or a download of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
But many of the preachers that we are instructed by, of course, are dead. But though dead, they still speak to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this enormous privilege in God's providence of sermons and writings and more importantly, the institutes, which...
Well, that was Dr. Derek Thomas talking about why it is so important for us to honor and to study the legacy of John Calvin. I did many other interviews on the Knowing the Truth radio broadcast dealing with the subject of Calvin 500. I have attached many of those interviews to this particular news item. You've been listening to A Moment of Truth, which is a cultural commentary provided by the Knowing the Truth radio ministry. Check us out on the web at www.knowingthetruth.org.